Shellshock presents.
Ready?
Sharing with Shellshock Season 4. New Age of Heroes. And welcome to another episode of Sharing with Shellshock. I am your host, ShellshockPrime, and tonight we are back with another episode. This one is about the PlayStation 2. Joining me are 3 returning guests and 1 new guest. EpicMan, welcome back.
It is good to be here, man. I'm very glad to be back for a good talk of the PlayStation 2.
Yep. And Redbeard, good to have you back too.
Good to see you.
Yep. And joining for the first time, we got TNAngelic. Good to have you, Ange.
Thank you for having me. Hey, guys.
Good to see you. And Mr. Ben, welcome.
Good up, losers? Sit with the heart.
Yep. Good to have you back on the show, as always.
Hey, nice to be back.
Yep.
I don't know why you keep bringing me on here, but I'm glad to be here anyway. So
I'm always glad to have all of you on. So tonight we're going to talk about PlayStation 2, which is the best-selling console of all time as of right now. Unless Nintendo Switch, for whatever reason, beats it. But we'll see how this goes. But before we get started on that, Epic, tell us what type of content you do.
Hello, guys. This is TheEpicMan speaking here. I do content a variety of stuff, like with Nintendo, PlayStation, and PC games, and all around. I mainly just like to have fun and make memories with friends and everyone around, just to have a good time and, just hang around. So, yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yep. What about you, Redbeard?
I am a content creator as well. I Twitch on stream, but I take a hiatus right now. But I'll be back sooner this year, beginning of next year.
Yep.
And I play a lot of games from JRPG, action-adventure games. But majority I've been playing is JRPGs.
All right. And what about you, Ange?
Hey, guys. My name is TNAngelic, but you call me Ange. I play a variety of games. I like to dabble a little bit in horror, but mostly I like my turn-based and Final Fantasy.
All right. And what about you, Ben?
So I'm pretty much the same way. I'm a variety streamer. I have a bit of a focus on Nintendo games for the most part, but I also do quite a bit of RPGs every so often. I am currently switching things up and currently doing a playthrough of an old point-and-click adventure PC game from the early 90s called Deathgate.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So PlayStation 2, after the success, the astounding success of the original PlayStation, Sony wanted to capitalize with a new console, the next generation PlayStation 2, which released in Japan on March 4th, 2000. We would get over here in the United States on October 26th, 2000. And it was hard to find. And the reason it was hard to find for a while is because Sony was only able to manufacture half as many units as they originally intended. They had a huge plan on how they wanted to handle the production and distribution of the console, but things didn't go their way. So what happened is that they were only able to ship half as much. But the system itself didn't really take off until 2001, when it was starting to get some of the best games on the system. We were getting Devil May Cry, we were getting Onimusha, Grand Theft Auto 3, Max Payne, and the list goes on and on and on. Jak and Daxter also came out that year, 2001, and that was the moment where, it was around the time when Xbox and Nintendo were releasing their consoles. Microsoft had Xbox, and then Nintendo came out with the GameCube, and the Dreamcast ended up not like discontinuing earlier that year and Sega became a third party developer and publisher, which meant that now they could make games for PS2. PS2 was just dominated. They completely dominated. And as of right now, there are over 160 million units sold worldwide. No console was able to beat this. The closest ones that were able to beat PS2 were the Nintendo Switch, which still ongoing, but that's up for debate, and the Nintendo DS. Nintendo DS was very close, but nope, could not beat the PS2. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about our experiences. And Epic Man, we're going to start with you. When did you get a PS2?
The PS2 for me was well, I mean, it's all vague for me to think about how I got it, other than that my dad got it for himself, but also with me too, for to play games. And he wasn't a big gamer as I was back in the day. He was just only for just to play games that are like, you would do in real life. I guess you like playing racing games or any sports games, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he got, from what I remember, the first PS2 that I played, I think, was Gran Turismo 3.
Yeah.
And I never played any realistically racing sims games before. And this game was pretty cool at the time for me to witness, when seeing realistic cars becoming a factor to play on a video game instead of just playing like Mario Kart or any kind of wacky racers type of games that you would see on older systems. But this one was a wow factor for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess other than Ridge Racer, even though I didn't feel like it was that type of game like Gran Turismo, it still feels pretty wacky to me with the music and the aesthetic of how that game was on PS1.
Yeah.
But but sooner or later, we were playing it, and he even got Grand Theft Auto 3, which I was never expecting a game like this to be playing, because I was just never a guy that plays mature games. I
Yeah.
was just a guy that likes to play just the funny cartoon games, because they're out there. But Grand Theft Auto was something that I guess it opened my eyes, but not really, about how games can be this brutal and mature for anything. Because I mean, I mean, I've seen some movies that are like rated R that I wasn't sure if I should be watching anyway. But even then, my parents didn't care. My parents didn't really think about mature ratings or saying how if this is good for me or not, because really it didn't really affect me at all. So really, just playing any games that has guns and blood and I guess sex in there anyway, but nothing really affected me at all when I was a kid. I just played the games and just have fun with it. And really, just having that system was, I guess, a little bit of a game changer for me. Other than like for having it as a way of a DVD player, which was really nice to see, because I never really thought of having it as a DVD player for good use, because we already have DVD players beforehand with our homes back in the day.
Yeah.
So really, it's a nice system. It's a really good system. And later on, I would get so many other games that I've always loved to play, and seeing new games, new series coming out left and right,
Yeah.
and along with the GameCube, and still playing with my Game Boys and all that stuff. The PS2 was fantastic. It was the next evolution at the time for me to witness, and it was just so amazing. And I really wanted to see more of it. So yeah,
Yep.
I had a good time honestly with the PS2. It was really good.
All right. What about you, Redbeard?
The first PS2 I have was given from a friend of mine, which no longer needed it. It was the fat brick one that surprisingly still works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then after that, it stopped working. I think about a few years later, it stopped working. Then I bought the Slim after.
Yeah.
And majority of the time, it was just a lot of RPG games playing. There's Grand Theft Auto Vice City,
Yes.
2 and 3 and Vice City, which and San Andreas, but Vice City is still my favorite of all.
Mm-hmm.
Like RPGs like Final Fantasy, Tales series, plus Star Ocean, but I don't like the game. I that never did. What was another RPG? Tales. Lost track of it. Then there's Onimusha,
Yep.
the Samurai Dark Souls, I think that kind of style.
Yeah.
Oh, and the third one with the French actor, that was so surprising to me.
Yeah.
Um, what else? I'm trying to remember. I had like a bunch of games that I remember I gave away, and I wish I didn't give away. And there's like a few also some other RPGs like Kingdom Hearts as well, and then there's Radius Stories, like some other hidden gem RPGs that we're playing.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that
Uh,
one.
I think that's a bit. I think that's it for me.
All right. What about you, Ange?
Oh, it's a journey. Just it was my first personal console. My family had we had a couple of previous consoles or like, Super Nintendo and stuff. But what got me to really want to get a PS2 was seeing that ad for Final Fantasy X. Like that ad, like I remember being 10 and being like, that's it. It's what I want. It's the first game I ever really wanted. So my dad and I made a deal. I did some chores, did some things, helped neighbors. I found out later that he actually paid for most of the PS2. And he helped me out. Yeah, it was like my first time like just earning something and getting it. And since then, that was my personal, as we were saying, like DVD player, gateway to JRPGs. It started with 10. I was also able to play my my brother had a PS1, but it broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to play Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. So I got to play the old PS1 games. That was really cool. But other than that, yeah, it was a gateway to just all those JRPGs and Onimusha you guys were mentioning, Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
It was great.
Awesome.
Ben?
So, funny thing, when we first got the PS2, I forget exactly when it was, if it was 2001 or 2002, but my dad's coworker at the time, because we were living up in Northern Virginia, had a PS2 of his own, and he was raving about how awesome it was. And he showed Dad some footage, or not some footage, but like some gameplay of Grand Theft Auto 3. And Dad thought that was pretty killer. So he discussed with Mom about maybe picking one up so we can kind of explore it. And it was a bit of a bonus because it also had a built-in DVD player, even though we already had a DVD player at the time. We kind of figured it would also be useful as like a backup just on the off chance that something happened to the one that we had.
Yeah.
And it was a funny story because Mom and I went down to pick it up at a Blockbuster because it was like the only place that we knew of that was selling those still. And we picked it up, and swear to God, the next fucking goddamn day, the price on the PS2 was slashed in half.
Mm-hmm.
Next fucking day. Pissed us off.
Oh, damn. That's the worst.
But yeah, I've had it. I still have it to this day. It's the because we never picked up like the slim model. We picked up the big bulky one,
Mm-hmm.
and it still worked. It worked perfectly. I haven't played that thing for years, but I would hope that if I were to like plug that thing up, it would still work. I actually had more problems with the controllers than I ever had the console itself.
I see.
I never had a problem with the console.
All right.
So,
well, my late uncle, may he rest in peace, got us a PlayStation 2. It was like in April of 2002. It was like um I remember I was on spring break at that time. And he came over. He brought the PS2. I remember the first games that I had. Well, other than a demo disc, it was NBA Live 2000, which I don't have anymore because I'm not really a sports game guy, like, or at least realistic sports game guy. And I don't remember what the other game that I had was, but I remember we were just playing like PS1 games on there still, because my brother was still playing Final Fantasy 9 on that thing, which is his favorite Final Fantasy, or actually rather not just his favorite Final Fantasy, but it's his favorite game of all time. We would get some other games later on. My uncle one day like came over and got us a couple of games. Like we got State of Emergency, we got Grand Theft Auto 3, which I originally thought that I got the game Oni from Rockstar, which is actually a Bungie game, but no, it had Grand Theft Auto 3 in there. Zone of the Enders. There were a couple of other games, but I remember just playing Grand Theft Auto 3 like a nonstop, and I wasn't doing the missions. I was just like running around, like doing what anybody dreamed of doing, basically being able to kill people, steal money, steal cars, and hoping to get away with it, only for the cops to chase you.
That's kind of what my dad and I did with when we first started playing Grand Theft Auto 3. We really didn't pay attention to the missions. We just basically fucked around Liberty City and just was basically menaces to society.
And then at some point, like, I ended up going to the public library because I didn't have a computer yet. I didn't get a computer until like a year afterwards, but I printed out some cheats just so I could. So whenever I get like any stars, I would use the cheats to get rid of the stars so the cops would stop chasing me and I could just continue doing what I'm doing and pretty much just getting away with it. But yeah, so I've spent a lot of time on PS2. Like, even though I also got a Game Boy Advance and a GameCube, I spent time on all three of them equally. But I actually do prefer the PS2 as a console because the amount of games that were on there, like it's both quantity and quality. And to me, PS2 is just incredible. Like eventually at some point, like in early 2006, our PS2 died, and then we ended up just getting a PS2 Slim to replace it because because we still wanted to play our PS2. And at first I remember people were telling us to wait for PS3, and then we found out PS3 was going to be $600.
And not only that, but correct me if I'm wrong, didn't PS3 also have like limited backward compatibility anyway too?
Yeah.
Actually, it was
only the big fat one, the PS3 big fat one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one had compatibility
Oh.
for like, but to only certain games.
yes.
It didn't
Yes,
play a lot
yeah.
of the games. There's only certain games they could play on the PS2 and the PS1.
Like and
Okay.
like those
Mhm.
iToy games I don't think worked. Which I didn't care about those anyway. I didn't buy iToy.
I never did either too.
Me neither.
But
Neither.
like my first foray in motion controls on console was the Wii, but that's a future topic. But for PS2, like I got the PS2 Slim, and because when it comes to PS2, the main genre of games I spent the most time on for PS2 was fighting games, which I'm gonna talk about my favorites later on. But yeah, for PS2, yeah, I've had it since 2002. Ended up getting like a new Slim in 2006, which that still works. Though I haven't used it in a long time. So now let's move on to the next thing. And Redbeard, we're gonna start with you on this one. What are your favorite PS2 games?
What? You gotta start with me. Wow. Oh man.
Well, I like to
man,
rotate everybody, and you're next.
Okay, some of my PS2 games. Final Fantasy 10, Tales of the Abyss, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um, trying to remember. It's just Jack and Dexter.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them. And Metal Gear Solid 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would put it 3 as well, but I had bad memories of that.
Ah.
Oh man, that's you gotta dig deeper.
There's a lot.
It is. I'm like, I know it's at home. I was like, I know it's in my home, but in my storage. I was like, what is that game? I would put it on. I wrote down. I would put it like Dark Cloud as well. That was
Dark Cloud, yes.
I think that's it for me.
All right, that's fair. Ench?
Wow, I was the last couple of days I was going through memory lane. But thankfully I was able to save some of my PS2 games. A lot of it, of course, got lost through history, but one of my faves, Dot Hack. Dot Hack is was one of my most favorites. So many things you could do in that game.
Yes.
I have all 4 still. They're the best. What's cool is I just saw it. It says anime DVD included. I was just like, oh yeah, that's when I realized, oh yeah, DVD player, yeah. But Persona games, I got all the Persona 3 Festival and all that. Kingdom Hearts, of course.
Yeah.
I went from 10 to Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was just coming out when I got to 10, I remembered.
Yeah.
Was it Sega? I still have my Dirge of Cerberus copy.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later.
That too.
I never actually got that game. I rented it out, but I never bought it.
It's more of a relic.
Yep.
It's more just to stand there for me. But Okage, Shadow King, Xenosaga, and then there's a couple of fighting games too. Yes, there's a lot, guys. So if we forget something, chat, just
Yeah, bring it up in chat. If you know, if any of us forget anything, bring it up and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I was so very upset when I picked up because I picked up the recent Dot Hack games on PS4 because I thought they were re-releases of the original PS2 the PS2 series, and I was so freaking irritated when I found that they weren't.
Me too.
I was like,
Yep.
I didn't have to do this to me. God damn it!
All right. Well, what Ben?
Dynasty Warriors.
Yes.
Specifically Dynasty Warriors 4, 5, and Empires. Empires was my fucking jam. I could still just if I were to hook, I swear to God, if I were to hook that PS2 up tonight, either 4 Empires or 5 Empires would be the game I would just pop in and just spend hours on.
Yeah.
I could play those games for days.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are also really good. I also like those games. I love those a lot. Say, just funny thing, a lot of the older games that I like are also some of my favorites. Because the Mega Man X collection, the Mega Man Anniversary collection.
Yeah.
Anniversary collection, funny enough, was actually my first foray into old school Mega Man. With Mega Man 1, 2, 3 was actually my first experience on getting those. Oh, actually, no, I take that back because I did remember playing the original NES games as a very young child, but this was before I was even 4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's obviously my skills as a baby gamer were baby tier, so I
Yeah.
sucked. And I remember not liking those games as a very young child. But then I grew older and actually skilled, and I'm like, oh hey, these are actually really fun.
Yes.
But I never purchased these games, but Ratchet and Clank I remember having a blast on. Jack and Daxter was pretty cool.
Yep.
I played a little bit of Rogue Galaxy. Rogue Galaxy was fun.
Oh yeah.
But I never got too super far into that. Funny thing, I picked up Persona 3 and 4, the FES Persona 3 and Persona 4. Never fucking played them. I still have not played Persona 3 or 4 to this day. I have been meaning to get around to doing that, and I just haven't done that.
You should.
Yep.
You should. That Persona 3
should,
FPS,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There's always 365 days in a year. There's always going to be time.
Yeah. Well, it's something, as I said, I mean, there's just so many hours, there's just so many games to play, and just not enough hours in the day to lay them all in.
100% true.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ben?
No, not really at this point.
All right. Epic?
Okay, well, let's see. I got some suggestions, I would say. For favorites, the most I would say I have fond of was probably Jack and Daxter for the first game. And then the second game, that one got me the most out of it, but not because it was so damn good, but because it was just so damn difficult. Because the difficulty spikes in this game was just so sporadic, where it can be very easy at times, but then it just gets so hard at random, especially with with less checkpoints in certain missions that they give you, and collecting and doing collectibles in the game is really hard to do, because if you miss a certain thing in a certain mission,
Yeah.
you won't be able to get it. It's locked behind there unless you start over the game, which is honestly a bit dumb for them to do. But eventually, I think they pretty much fixed it in Jack 3, which was probably my favorite of how they fixed up on Jack 2, because they did a lot on this one, trying to be more than just a GTA clone, because that was what it was called back in the day, because GTA was popular at the time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Jack 3 was really good. But Jack and Daxter, the first game, was so excuse me, was so awe-inspiring that the level designs, the world itself, the world building, characters, just everything about it was so beautiful. Just reminds me of playing Crash Bandicoot in the PlayStation 1, just being more open and more going out there to see that you can go through these worlds on foot without needing a loading screen. Really,
Mm-hmm.
it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And then there is also the Katamari series that are what my aunt got me into, because she bought the first game because she thought it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was curious on it too until I played it, and it was fantastic. It was so goofy and weird, and the music is just so damn good that I just could not put it down. I want to listen to it so much that I want to put it on my iPod at the time and just listen to it anyway, because it is a very good series. Just have fun with it and just go out there and just be happy about it, because this is what makes me, you know, want to feel happy all the time, because this game just really makes me happy seeing how goofy it can be, and doesn't matter if it's nonsensical, because it doesn't have to make sense. It's just a game that it makes sense in their own world. And I just love it too much that I wanted to play the sequel so much. And then I play most of the other games when they ever came out on any of the PlayStation consoles, and then even then they just go out to become multi-platform, which is good. So but it was a PlayStation game in my heart at the time, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, like pretty much just with Katamari and Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, which I never got into it, because that's like a game that's supposed to be like a predecessor to Jack and Daxter, like a opposite, like with how Crash Bandicoot had Spyro, and now Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, which is funny enough because it is both made by the same teams with Naughty Dog and Insomniac, kind of butt headings with their characters, trying to be somewhat similar to each other
Yeah.
to see which one is better. And I just happen to always pick on Naughty Dog side because I just love their games so much that I just keep choosing theirs until way later than that I picked up Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation and played pretty much most, if not all, or actually no, I played pretty much most of the Ratchet and Clank games
No.
of Insomniacs, and but later I do want to play Spyro though. I have not played fully Spyro the Dragon,
Mm-hmm.
but I will because I have the I have the Reignite trilogy on my computer, which I will get to it in the future. But I do have it on my Vita that I can play it on. So I have played those, but I never fully finished them. So I want to play those anyway. And then there's Kingdom Hearts. Never really got into them at the time. My aunt probably just played them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
She loves them. And then there's of course Devil May Cry.
Yep.
That's also a really good series. But I played with 3 the most. Never played much of 1. And again,
No.
because my aunt played a lot of Devil May Cry because she's a Devil May Cry fan. So yeah, and then there is also SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom and the movie game. Both of them, I played so much of those as well because I was a huge SpongeBob fan at the time that I
Mm-hmm.
love playing these tie-in video games that I think that Battle for Bikini Bottom is probably the best, if not one of the best, um, the video game tie-in with TV shows kind of games because they're really fun and they actually feel like a genuine video game instead of just being a game that just feels like it just existed because it needed to be a video game.
Yeah.
So this one was probably one of my favorite of all those games. But yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much how I would say for these games that I listed as my favorites.
Yeah. So for me, my favorite games on the PS2, like Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening is definitely up there for me as one of my favorites. Um like Devil May Cry 1 is a good game, but I feel like it suffers from first game syndrome because like they had some ideas, but they just weren't sure. I felt like they haven't quite figured out what they wanted out of it yet. The less said about Devil May Cry 2, the better. Devil May Cry 3 pretty much went back to the first game in the terms of gameplay. They took whatever good elements of 2 they had and put it there, but obviously they mostly took what they have for the first game and just made it way better. Just have but instead of continuing with the story, they went backwards by making it take place first chronologically. But the game itself is actually a really good jumping point. So if people have not played the first game or the second game, go straight to 3. That's perfectly fine. But if you play 3 before 1, you might not like 1 that much. But I did play 1 first though. But yeah, 3 is amazing. I have also enjoyed playing Onimusha Warlords. That game is fantastic. I still need to play the sequels, although I know that there is a remaster of Onimusha 2 coming soon, like next month. There's also like the Grand Theft Auto games, but the one that I'm gonna go for that I say that I played the most time on, I spent the most time on the PS2, is San Andreas. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
I will fully agree with you on that.
yeah, I didn't have Vice City back in the day. I have it now because of retro hunting. But San Andreas, I actually bought that game at launch at a local GameStop that no longer exists. And I remember going in there, and there was a lot of people in that GameStop swarming around, waiting in line, waiting to get their game. I was with my mom. I was in my senior year of high school. And like the hype was real. And then the moment that we got home, whatever plans we would have had, we were like, nope, fuck that. We were going to be playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and my brother and I were just playing it. He made it a lot further into the game than I did. But I would like to go back to it and actually finish it. But I did like what I play. Like out of all the GTA games, that's the one I spent the most time on. And it's the version in which that like you can apparently mod it, and then like you have some shit you're not supposed to see apparently that made the game rated
Yeah, the
AO.
hot coffee controversy.
The controversial
I'll
hot
tell
coffee.
You have,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep.
have that
Oh, yeah.
version.
You know, it's
It's
that infamous
it's
mod.
it's an expensive version now, but I also have, in terms of games that I enjoyed on PS2. So I talked about how much I love fighting games. Well, I enjoy the Capcom versus SNK 2, but even though I have the GameCube version, I did play it on PS2 as well. At like gatherings. I've played Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, great game. It's basically like a tag team system like Marvel vs. Capcom, but with SNK's Neo Geo characters. King of Fighters Maximum Impact and the sequel Maximum Impact 2, which for whatever reason they called it King of Fighters 2006. I have Street Fighter Anniversary Collection and the Alpha Anthology, which are also fantastic. I mainly played at Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. Well, there was only 2 games on there. There was Hyper Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which is one of my all-time favorite fighting games. I've also have played my fair share of action adventure games on the PS2. I've played a little bit of Jack and Daxter, but I've never gotten that far. My brother is like a huge Jack fan. But we didn't really own the first one. I've played it like at demo kiosk, but we have 2 and 3. 2 and 3 were Christmas presents for my brother. Like he got 2 in 2003 when it came out, like around the time it came out. And then he also got 3 in 2004 for that Christmas. I didn't really have a lot of RPGs on the system, although I am looking to build up my library of RPGs on PS2. Like I now own Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I'm looking to pick up Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 on for my when I do retro hunting. I'm looking.
10-2 is actually a lot better than what people would say. This is just my personal opinion myself.
And
I mean to cut you off.
it's fine. There's a couple of other RPGs I still want to get and collect for my PS2. Like majority of them are for Square, but there's a series I've been wanting to play the moment I first heard about them, because of the fact that I've only played one game in the series, which a lot of people say is the best game in the series. But it's technically a spin-off of it. This RPG series is called Drakengard, which is a Square Enix series.
Yes.
Oh, that's that one. Yeah.
I have played that one. I love the title. The game itself is take it or leave it.
The game that is predecessor to the Nier series.
Yes, because the only Nier game that I've ever played is Nier Automata, which I love. So I want to go back.
Yeah.
I want to go back and play these Drakengard games because I'm actually pretty curious.
Me too.
So speaking of other PS2 games that RPGs that I still need to play, I need to get myself the Xenosaga games. Like the Xenosaga games, Tales of the Abyss. There was another Tales game on the PS2 that came before Abyss. I don't remember what it was called. But Abyss is the big one I want to get. And another game, but in terms of what I also own, I will say this though, I'm also a huge wrestling fan. And my favorite, and in my personal opinion, what I think is the best wrestling game on the PS2 is WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Easily the best one in terms of gameplay, in terms of roster and features and everything. Because after that, they decided to pivot to the SmackDown versus Raw series, which it became, and then it would become WWE with whatever number, and then 2K got the license, and they became 2K whatever. So yeah, and also Def Jam Fight for New York. That's a good one. Like, it's more of a brawler, but that was a good one. And also one other thing I'll mention is that I've also have played Mega Man X7, which was not a great game. Because that was where Mega Man X jumped to the PlayStation 2. It was in 3D. And there was a meme where there is a Maverick named Flame Heinerd, and he's known for saying "burn to the ground, burn to the ground,
burn to the ground, burn to the ground."
Oh,
Yep.
Oh god, that
Yeah.
one.
Burn to the ground.
Meme.
So there was also Mega Man X8, and it's definitely a better game, but it's still not amazing. Like, there were much better Mega Man X games. Like, I know that there's the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, the X Collection on the PS2, but I actually didn't get them on PS2. I actually got them on GameCube, but they are well worth owning on PS2 for those who have that. So that's my favorite games. I'm pretty sure I would have more, but there's still a lot more games I have to play on PS2. Like, but out of all of Sony's games, the series I really want to get into the most is God of War.
Oh,
I've never actually played that series. I've heard of it, but I've never gotten into it. The
It's a
only
great
God of War
series.
game I ever got was the one that came out within the last like 5 to 7 years for PS4.
Yeah,
You mean the God of War?
The one
PS4
that the
games?
meme's called Dad of Boy.
yeah, 2018.
yeah.
That one.
Yeah, and God of War
Good
4.
one.
But that's a series I want to get into at some point. I know the second game was a swan song, but you want to know what's a series that did start on PS2 that ended up getting bigger later on? Yakuza.
Mhm.
True.
Nice.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
actually played those either.
Yakuza started on
I get
PS2.
onto that.
I never played the original one, but I was aware of it. But apparently, Mark Hamill was in it. He voiced Majima, and I know Bill Farmer was in it. He the voice of Goofy. He was in that game. I forgot who he voiced. But
I
Sega
could look that up real fast.
Sega was trying to make it into a big series over here, and the game bombed because it came out very late in the life cycle. It came out in 2006, right around the time where PS3 came out. And then the second game bombed worse, came out in 2008 here. But then it's like, the series started to get big here the moment we got Yakuza 5 and Yakuza 0. Then it started to get bigger and bigger, and now, like, Yakuza is a lot more mainstream. But yeah. But those are my favorite games. So, what were some of your favorite memories or moments regarding PS2? What, you gonna say something, Ben?
I was just looking up Bill Farmer's voice for Yakuza. Apparently, he voiced Makoto Date.
Oh, okay. So,
So,
all right. So this one we'll start with you, Ange. What were some of your favorite memories or moments regarding the PlayStation 2 that you can remember?
Ooh, okay. I want to be careful not to do spoilers.
Yeah.
That's what I know some of these are like over 20-year-old games, but still. There's some great moments. Ooh, that's a spoiler. But I would say still to this day, just the Yuna dance sequence in FF10,
Mhm.
just breathtaking. Just some of the best cinematography, like just everything about it. Just the movement, the music, narration. I know the voice acting is weird and intense. I know it didn't keep up.
Yeah.
But it was at the time. It was just great. There's a couple. There's a couple of moments I had though. I would say we were talking about Onimusha, and I was just remembering the first boss and having to figure out, like, a lot of these games. It's like it was my first time like trying to strategize against these different boss fights.
Mhm.
But I would say the first boss in Onimusha, when I finally conquered that guy, I was just so happy, and I remember just screaming, running out of my room. My dad thought something broke. my PS2 broke.
Yep.
Like he was just like he was concerned. I was like, no, I did it. I can continue this game. It took me like 5 months. school, of course, but like things like that. Trying to think of something that's not spoilerish. Uh, uh, but yeah, I would say just, I guess in FF10 when I beat there's one boss. It's the first time you fight, or first time you fight Sin, and figuring out the gimmicks there with the ship. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was
The Fahrenheit.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Figuring that new gimmick, I was kind of like, it was just kind of fun. It was basically PS2 was the time where I was just figuring out gaming, and so I feel like there's a lot of memorable parts. But I don't want to give spoilers, the spoilers. But that's who I can think of right now.
Okay.
But
All right.
yeah.
What about you, Ben?
So some of my favorite memories on PlayStation 2 was going in through and I know Angela doesn't want to do spoilers. I have no such compunctions. There's this one moment from Gradius 5 where you're going through a level and you're joined by a mysterious, partner kind of helping you out in the background. Later on in the game, you actually fucking time travel back.
Ooh.
And you will wind up being that mysterious partner to your past self. That I think was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my other favorite memories was when I was playing Warriors Orochi and I was going through the entire game. The final fucking mission when you go up against Orochi, this is like a combination of awesome and freaking hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
But storming his base with you and all your dudes and going in and beating on this motherfucker's ass 7-1 is something that I will always fucking treasure. Because I think it's freaking hilarious just going in and just bum rushing this dude.
Yep.
I also forgot to mention the memories of playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New
Yes.
Age of Heroes. Because that was also another good game that I liked, that I mentioned. I forgot to mention this, and I'm like, I'm looking at the background like, how did I not mention this game earlier? MVC2, such a great game.
Yep. I'll add that to my list too of favorites. But go ahead.
But yeah, just going in, just a full team of Tron Bond, Spider-Man, and Mega Man was part of the baseline, wasn't he?
He was a hidden character.
Yeah. Oh, he was a hidden character. Yeah. I hadn't unlocked him at first, but I remember going, I think like just some random third person, because Tron Bond and like Spider-Man were like the only two characters I really gave a damn about.
Yep.
And yeah, Sonic Mega Collection Plus, that's also another one I think I've got somewhere
All right.
hidden back here around here. Just go, like I said, I'm just enjoying some of the retro games. Just replaying them all again, whether it be Mega Man, whether it be Sonic. I think also some of the information, just going through some of the games that I never played for before on the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kind of like going through some of the harder bosses on some like Final Fantasy titles. Going through Final Fantasy X too and experiencing that. Remembering like a bunch of people saying that, oh hey, this is kind of like this really isn't that great. And I remember going through 10-2 and remembered this actually is a lot better than people are giving this credit for. I'm having more fun with this than I did with Baseline 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Final Fantasy X by itself is a good game. I liked Final Fantasy X. I just happen to prefer 10-2.
Yep.
Yeah, because the battle system was so superb.
You guys just made me happy because I feel like also a lot of people tell me they don't like 10 too. And I'm just here
I love it too. I love the music.
Yep.
Oh, the music! I love the music of the battle system of that game.
All right. Anything else,
I'm
Ben?
pretty much done with that. I'm pretty much done in terms of in
Memories?
terms of memories.
All right. Epic, you're next. Memories and moments.
Um, I'm trying to really think hard about this one because I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say I have the most memorable things with the PS2. I mean, I remember like fond things about with achievements with being a game and all, but I wouldn't say they're like the most craziest. But I guess I can share some small things about that I had with certain games. Like for one, when I my mom, she got me Pac-Man World 3 one
Mm-hmm.
time, and I was like, huh. I've always wanted to play the Pac-Man World games because I saw 2 a lot and I thought it looks very cool and I love platforming. And then when I got to play 3, and then I was out for the most part from the very start of the game. I thought this was going to be a very good game from the cutscene opening, and then till everything changed when just how the game turned out in the in the most part, where the game is just not as bright color or very fond of what the previous games were, because they were usually cheerful and happy, and the third game is just more moody and angsty, where Pac-Man is thrown into a weird world where it is all monsters and ghouls and just things that you would never see in a Pac-Man game before.
Yeah.
And my mind was just, what is this? I was not sure what the hell am I playing at all, because this game was not like how I imagined what Pac-Man World games would be. Because I never played any of the Pac-Man World games beforehand until I played 3, and 3 was very different. It's all about punching, biting ghosts, which is the usual thing, but you also explore, which is also good. But even then, the power ups are there. Some of the stuff you do as Pac-Man World 2 are still there with the running, the butt bounce and all that. And even collecting the fruits are still there, but just everything about it just didn't feel like Pac-Man at all. But yet I somehow kept playing without even having a second thought because I was not sure what I was playing. It felt like I was playing an entirely different game
Yep.
because Pac-Man was not what I thought it was. I love seeing all the clips and stuff that I never got the chance to play Pac-Man World 2 at the time, and seeing this was just weird. But yet I was somewhat fond of because it was so different. And yet Pac-Man still remains the same as he acted in the other games. He is cheerful, kind of a cocky guy, but he likes to have fun with the guys, even the ghosts he befriends with. And it is crazy, and it is just the weirdest thing I ever seen in a video game, where it just did a 180 turn, kind of like with Jack and Daxter in a way, where Jack 2 was an entirely different game for what it was going to be in the far front. But Pac-Man World 3 was just, what the hell are you?
Mm.
Because even because then later on I did learn about the history behind the scenes with what's it called, Blitz Games, where they were trying to make a new Pac-Man game, Pac-Man World game, but they just keep having trouble with development, and they keep going over and over it until they found their sweet spot of what the game should be, and then it just went all crazy, and they just try to figure out what is the Pac-Man game they wanted to make, and then this happened. So yeah, it was a bizarre moment that I thought it was very weird to me, but yet I still remember it fondly because even though this is a game that I would never imagine a Pac-Man game would be, but yet I still beat it and I had my time with it. I wouldn't say it's the worst Pac-Man game ever, really. There is far worse than those that came out later that we would never talk about ever again.
Yep.
Um, but even then, this game was so weirdly fond of my memories I would never get rid of, because it is something I would never um I would never replace, because sometimes you gotta have some weird moments with games that you probably do not uh want or
Mm-hmm.
get, but yet you still remember playing it these days because it is something that sticks with you all these times. Um, but also, even then, one more thing, something that is unrelated to this, but when PS2 became a successful console because not just because of its game system, but it's also because of its DVD player.
Hmm.
And I remember um, long ago, whenever I go visit to Dominican Republic with my family,
Mm-hmm.
I remember every time I bring my PS2 over, I always watch just one movie, even though I bought a whole bag of movies I can watch on my PS2 on my TV. There's only one movie that I just can't stop watching over and over, and that is Hot Fuzz with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I'm like, why am I watching this movie? Why am I? And I remember I was watching it over 10 times every night because I just cannot stop watching that movie. That movie is just so freaking awesome. Next to Shaun of the Dead and even at World's End, I would say
Yep.
one of the movies they made together. But Hot Fuzz was just nonstop action thriller and just so funny most of the time. And just it's just amazing to see how much um how much it can get very crazy with its action and just how much they can do with this movie. And I can never forget that I just bring it with my PS2 and I only just watch that one movie over and over and over and over again because it is just such a timeless classic for me that I just could not stop. It is just so much fun. So yeah, that's gonna be it from my memories. It's just the weirdest things I love with this system.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about you, Redbeard? Your favorite memories or moments regarding PS2?
Most majority is gonna be all the gameplay. Mostly like from 5 to 10. Uh, I have a favorite the games he was dancing. That's still one of my favorites. My top one is Oron's speech he gave out.
Mm.
Battle.
Yep.
That is what's up with my faves.
Yes.
Um, some games. I can just all everything is going through me to Jack and Dexter.
Good
Then
Jack.
I start getting to some other RPGs. It's just so mind blowing because it's just going through me and now like still playing Tales of the Abyss, doing like a 104 combo with a boss that came out of nowhere. uh I'm gonna say that's it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Tales of the Abyss. The funny thing is, I have the 3DS version, but I do want to get the
Yeah.
PS2. But I do want to get because here's the thing: the 3DS version was a limited print run. They never put it up on the eShop for the 3DS because of how it was a limited print run. But I do want to get the PS2 version. Um,
The PS2 version, the PS3. It's just I was like, I remember playing it on the freaking PS2, and I was like, I ain't gonna play because on the 3DS.
let's see. So, um, my favorite memories and moments regarding PS2. Well, I remember um, playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with my brother. And what I remember is that there was a there was you in that version you could actually play three of the same character. And I remember there were times where like we used one of the worst characters in the game, and that's Servbot, because he's so small, he's so tiny, and it was basically like a joke fight. But um but as far as everything else goes, like in terms of other moments, like just playing the Grand Theft Auto games, trying to get away with killing people, stealing cars, stealing money, all of that stuff, and then using the cheat codes to get rid of the stars so you can keep doing what you're doing. Rinse and repeats, because like it takes a while for me to get bored of doing that, because like I could do it for hours and then like only get tired of it after like like maybe like 5-6 hours, then take a break, get food, whatever, then go back and doing it because it's just so fucking fun. Like people don't realize how fun it is, but that and also playing like I remember there was this one time that I was playing I believe it was the second Budokai game or the third one. Because I have the first one, but I remember playing the third one at a friend's place because like they bought a PS2. And just seeing everybody just playing it for the first time and just seeing like all the characters, because that game had the GT characters, and seeing like everyone just going for Super Saiyan 4 Goku or Vegeta was wild. Everybody was screaming of how hyped they were seeing that because GT was like still on at the time in North America. Um, Another one I would probably say would be around the time that I was playing Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and loving how amazing that game is, like just how deep that game goes. The fact that that collection also had the Street Fighter 2 animated movie was a bonus. Um,
Oh.
Great movie, by the way. Um, and then I remember being extremely underwhelmed by another fighting game that Capcom put out called Capcom Fighting Evolution, which was basically just taking characters from different fighting games, plastering them, and then to find out that the disc just randomly doesn't want to work after you're playing the game. It just stopped working, and no matter what I could do, um, and I couldn't take it back because the GameStop weren't going to give us that much money. So yeah, the game apparently doesn't really want to work. And the thing is that it was a brand new game too. Like they came out, but that game just kind of sucks anyway. So I went on to play go back to playing better games anyway. So yeah, those are my moments. Couldn't really remember a lot of them, but I do. Other than the fact that I was just watching my brother play Jak 2 and Jak 3, and he would just enjoy those games too. So Ben, I'm gonna ask you this question: how much does the PlayStation 2 mean to you?
In terms of what do you mean by that?
Like overall, like in terms of like how much it shaped your taste in gaming.
In that case, it's very important to me because, as I mentioned in the chat earlier, it was actually the PS2's backward compatibility that permitted me to play a lot of PS1 games that I missed out on. The Mega Man 8, Mega Man X4, Legends 1 and 2, a lot of the Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 were games that I had never played before. I also got my first taste of Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy Origins on that game, actually.
Nice.
And it was actually kind of funny because Final Fantasy 1 through Origins actually used the proper MP system, but then I went back to play the original Final Fantasy 1, and they used a spell slot system like out of D&D. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Interesting.
But, I mean, I don't have a problem with the spell slot system. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's how the most recent re-release with Pixel Remaster, I think, uses that. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, but yeah, there's like a lot of stuff, a lot of games that if it wasn't for the PS2, I never would have probably, even today, if I had never gotten the PS2, there was probably a lot of games I never would have been able to play, at least without going in at the emulation scene.
Yeah.
And it's funny because speaking of emulation, there is another game that I actually had a lot of fun with, even though I didn't actually like play it outright myself. I had a lot of fun voicing some of these characters. My buddy Radio Dog, he streamed a playthrough of through Discord for me, my buddy Jay, and DM12 in chat as well. We were playing. He was playing through a playthrough of Sakura Wars.
Yep.
So Long My Love, or I think the title was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just having a blast just watching him play. And if I ever get a chance to get my hands on a copy myself somehow, I wouldn't mind playing through it again, because I understand that game was also available for Wii,
Yeah.
but I never got a chance to play that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's also kind of funny because the PS2 was also the last video game console that I recall seeing my dad actively play. Because if it wasn't for him, we never would have gotten it either.
Yeah.
So,
Anything else?
I also kind of wanted to mention that I was thinking about it. Some of the best memories I've had was also kind of messing around with him with GTA 3,
Mm-hmm.
where we did look up some cheat codes, and one of the best things that we did was we would spawn in tanks, and we would just blow the shit out of everything. And especially, it got even crazier too when we found the flying car cheat. And just,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even so much of a flying, because it was more of like, it just gave the properties of the cars of the Dota plane. And that is such a shit vehicle. But it was still fun nevertheless, just to try to, see things just take off and just start tumbling through the air like nonsense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid of using cheat codes in GTA. It's always fun to mess around.
Oh yeah.
One of the best things was when we turned on the riot code, and especially in San Andreas. And just have everyone just
Don't you just love when you want to have chaos in your world and just want to be a part of it? Yeah. I want to
The
see
downside to that, though, is just finding out that, oh, hey, there's no off button for the riot code. So, oops.
Nope. You gotta remember that you gotta say you have a save file before you do that. That's that's a hard lesson you gotta learn there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was, but still, it was fun.
Yep.
That's pretty much all I've got.
All right then. Epic. How much does the PlayStation mean to you, especially in terms of your taste in gaming?
Well, my taste in gaming didn't feel like it got any different, really, because most of the games I played were just mostly platformer games. Yet, I've looked into other series and even new ones that came out that really just pretty much elevates my favorites of in terms of genre with platforming and even racing games sometimes. But because I mostly play on the GameCube at the time, but also PS2, because I always go back and forth when I had those two, and also with my Game Boy and yeah, because I had a Game Boy at the time too, and I think I have actually no, maybe just those three, because I know that I play a lot with my PS2 with those certain games like with SpongeBob and Jack and Daxter and Katamari, but yet I know that whenever I look at my aunt, because she has her own PS2 and she plays a lot during her high school days.
Yeah.
She tends to play a lot of different games. She loves RPGs. She loves to look into some weird and abstract games that she could find that she never got into. And DMC was one of them. And it is a game series that I never thought I would be interested in because I thought it would just look a little bit dark, a little bit weird. But it's just I never really got into with with the character Dante. And seeing the third game for the first time was awe-inspiring, I would say, because seeing the cutscenes with Dante having a fun time shooting up bad guys and using their weapons against them, just being all weird, funny dick kind of guy because he just loves to dick around with people because he knows he could just one up on them whenever he gets a chance.
Yeah.
And it's very crazy because really, I never seen characters like him a lot in my eyes before. I guess maybe you could say Sonic, but I wasn't too crazy with Sonic at the time. But Dante was something that I never thought I would say was really good to have as a character because he is very different and very unique for a fun character to play as, and yet the gameplay is also fun too. It can be hard, really. It's balls hard, but I never really, well, I didn't go fully in with DMC3 till like years later, but yet I just watch it and I just watch my aunt play it and she is pretty good playing the game. And it just makes me think about with other games like with Kingdom Hearts and um what is Final Fantasy
Yeah.
because she played those as well, and it just makes me want to think about wanting to play other genres that I never got into, like with RPGs, because I never really played much of RPGs at all, or little there is to none. But I want to get into them because seeing characters and the world building themselves are very interesting, and they can be very fun if you just have a good time, patience, and just have a just gotta relax and lay down and you gotta be in a certain mood too if you want to get into it because it can be very much all talk with some breaks and just always having to grind for levels and finding things and just looking up at walkthroughs and guides on game facts to figuring out what items and what places you want to get if you wanted
Yeah.
to level up so easily,
Oh
if you
yeah.
wanted to
Okay.
beat the boss easily without having a problem because there'll be times where games don't tell you what to do because you gotta figure out yourself trial and error now. But I
Yeah.
know I wouldn't be like that because fuck that. I'm not wasting my time. No, no.
Been there,
Yep.
done
Because
that.
it is stupid.
That,
Just
that's just the way it
but
was back then.
yeah, because even then, like I'm more of a visual learner than just reading. But yet having a guide like GameFAQs that will help you out is a blessing because that is that is a website that actually did help me out embarrassingly on how to get all the other characters in Super Mario 64 DS because I never knew how to unlock Luigi or Wario at the time
Mm-hmm.
until I look up on GameFAQs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helped me out. So, but but the PS2 though, it was a thing that I say it is important to me because it elevates my love of gaming a lot more because it is a new generation of gaming and it just makes it look so beautiful, giving more power over PS1 and just seeing what people can do to make these amazing games on the system
No.
and how and I love what people can come up with these things and seeing the
Speaking of which,
platforms
if
and
I may
whatnot.
interject,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off or anything. I just have to
No worries.
mention this. There is a series that without the PS2, I never would have fallen in love with. I never would have tried this out.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be Katamari.
Oh yeah, I
I
mean yeah.
I never would have gotten into Katamari if it wasn't for the PS2. So
Oh yeah, like it would have it wouldn't be because like the creator, I forgot his name. He was into with sculpting at the time, and he was picked up with Bandai, I believe, or was it Namco? I think it was
It was
Namco,
Namco
and then
before they
it
merged.
was Namco, and then of course he was more interested in sculpting, and he wants to figure out ideas on how to make a unique game, and he come up with Katamari, and thus becoming a PlayStation 2 exclusive was a really good thing because it drives up a lot of people to wanting to play the game and to see how it can go because the game is just so uniquely weird and fun. And I never really got too much into with Japanese games that are just out of the norm because I was just usually just into with platforming games with Mario and but Katamari was just so different that it just never clicks with you until you just realize, oh, nothing makes sense. I should go with it because really what nothing makes sense, yet you feel the vibe of this game coming to your veins because it is supposed to make you feel happy because you are going through obstacles of picking up items that are going from small to big, and you wanted to pick up that item and you can't because you need to get bigger, so you got to go somewhere else to get bigger items, and then you get bigger and bigger, and then you feel accomplished of overcoming that obstacle, and then you be like, ha, gotcha. So then you want to go bigger and you want to go bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you just conquer the world. That's what it's supposed to be to make you feel with Katamari. It is just something you want to capture your feelings yourself with overcoming obstacles and just feeling good about it because it is what's supposed to be to make you feel good about it and to feel connected with your Katamari because it is pretty much like you overcoming smaller problems and then you would become the bigger man yourself at
Yeah.
the end.
Hmm.
So that's I think that with Katamari, I believe that is very special in my heart when it came to the PlayStation 2 because it is so beautiful. It is so amazing. I would never ever replace anything with it because I would I would love this series over and over again, and I would love to go back in time to fall in love with this game again when it came out. It was that special to me with the PS2
Hmm.
and
I just like because
I
it was
love
weird
it.
as fuck.
Oh
But
yeah, it is weird as fuck. I mean, you just don't expect anything out of it with a big man talking to his little son saying, "You must clean up this world because I said so, because I fucked up
Yeah.
the stars. So you do it before mom comes back." and you and the son's like, okay, and the father just becomes a bigger asshole to you whenever he puts you in the world, saying, "Good luck, tiny prince," or "Good luck, you loser prince." Like he
that
just
was like one of
calls
the
you names.
funniest, but at the same time, it was such like a. Because even when you like do your best, like a lot of the times he just gives you a backhanded compliment at best.
Because that's how
Daniel
father and
Cosmos is
son
such a
are supposed to
dick.
be. Because that's how it works with father and son. You're supposed to give them compliments with mean words. So really, what else can you do? Because like I don't know, I wouldn't do anything else other than just saying you can do this, loser. but like yeah, I mean, the PS2 is just so goddamn memorable with so many because look, we have games with exclusivities that are belongs to each other, and PlayStation 2 has one of the most, I would say, unique type of games that they have at the time. Even with GameCube and PlayStation 2 has their own unique style of games with theirs too, with Jack and Daxter, with Katamari, Ratchet and Clank, Yakuza, uh, Final Fantasy, just a lot of different genres and different defining moments that I would never forget because it is so damn good, you know? And I would never really forget about it because the PS2 is one of my favorite systems I would ever play all over again.
All right. Sounds good.
There's that.
Redbeard,
Hmm.
how much does the PS2
Uh,
shape your taste in gaming?
a lot. Because when I was started playing JRPGs, I started like looking at JRPGs to play. It opened up a lot because Final Fantasy X was one of them. 10-2, Tales of Leginia, Tales of the Abyss, Xenosaga series, like so much. That I had Dark Cloud as well, Grand Theft Auto. There's like so much I remember playing. Every time I just get on, I just play the game.
Yeah.
Hear the opening screen, just let that play around.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even like the most game I think I have been on the most is probably maybe around I would say Final Fantasy 12
Hmm.
because uh I think I was mostly doing everything in the game because of the whole the achievement they had in game for the whole uh picture deal they had.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a lot of because I was like, it was just like my hour, my time max on there is 999,999,999. Because I think the one problem was the crystal maze, and that crystal maze was this fucking bitch. And
Oh
you need a
man.
strategy guide for that.
Yeah.
You need a strategy guide or game facts because the map in there is so wonky.
Oh yeah. Anything else, Redbeard?
That's about it.
All right. What about you, Ange? How much did the PlayStation 2 mean to you in terms of your taste in gaming? Like, how much did it shape?
Oh, like basically everything. um, but yeah, you guys mentioned the strategy guides. Because I recently had moved, I have a full box of the Bradley game strategy guides, and I was looking through those. And yeah, I needed for FF12 when I got to the like this is beginning like the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled so hard with that wall.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And that was so hard for me at the time. And I need to play Zodiac Age, by the way, just to see.
It's so much better. I love
It
it.
is. It's also like a strange thing because I have to admit, I for the longest time I kind of preferred the baseline over Zodiac, and that was only because of the fact that Zodiac gives you the job system. But when I got into the job system, I actually find that I preferred having the job system, especially because the version I got allowed you to change. You had to speak to Montblanc, and he'd have to like reset everything for you.
Yeah.
But if there was like a configuration you didn't like, then you could just go ahead and change it over. Whereas because that was what turned me off the Zodiac Age the first time was the initial release. You were locked into your job choices
Yeah.
permanently.
Oh no, gosh.
So
Yeah.
Oh no.
but
I'm glad
but
to
then
see that.
but then I think I want to say the PC and PS4 got a patch to where you could change that, and then the Switch version of that had that available from the outside.
Yeah.
Oh good.
So
Good. Yeah. I would say though, like Final Fantasy, of course, like all that stuff. But I would say it's because we talked about it earlier, where it's like there's a lot of PS1 games you could play on a PS2.
Yep.
And literally it was my gateway to the PS1 games, like Chrono Trigger. I had that collection with Chrono Trigger and I believe Final Fantasy, was it
4.
3
Final
or
Fantasy Origins, yes.
Origins? Yeah, I have that. I still have that.
Or was it
And
Origins?
I think
Right,
so. I have
Chronicles.
to look at it again.
Origins was
But
1
I
and 2.
just, yeah. And it was very important to me. It was kind of where I'm at today. Like I wouldn't be sitting right here nerding out with everyone about video games if it wasn't for the PS2.
Yeah.
Very important. But really quick, I also it got me into.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just mumbling to myself. Don't mind me.
Oh, okay. But like also obscure games. Like there was a lot of PS2 obscure games, like horror games, and it got me also into horror games, like Haunting Grounds. Like I'm eventually gonna play more PS2 games in the future in a certain way.
Ever play Clock Tower or Silent Hill?
I need to play those still,
Okay.
but I will be
Silent Hill or
eventually playing
Resident
those
Evil.
in the future. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, I forgot about Silent Hill. Yeah, like I've only played 2 on PS. Well, on PS I did play the PS1 game, but in the context of PS2, I've only played Silent Hill 2 so far. And I will say though that the second game is definitely a big improvement over the first one. But you could tell that the second game, it looked like it started on PS1, but then they moved it to PS2 because I could tell like it still had a couple of quirks that would have worked only on PS1, but it's still a much better game than the first Silent Hill for sure. So in terms of how much that the PS2 shaped my taste in gaming, to be very honest, it didn't. What it did do is elevate it to another level. And the reason for that is because like my taste in gaming didn't change as much but I was into like a lot more video game series because of the PS2. And then some other games I didn't play until much, much later after the PS2 was not relevant anymore in terms of being sold in stores. But um but still, like, there were countless of amazing games on the PS2. Um to me, it's a case of both quality and quantity at the same time. Um and I'll forever be grateful for the times I've had with it. And there's still a lot of games for me to discover. Granted, some of them I played on other platforms because they got ported later on, but at the end of the day, PS2 was a huge juggernaut in terms of um the type of system it was, both in terms of sales and in terms of the amount of games that it has. It's huge. So so of course, and everything else that it could do, like being a DVD player, was a plus. So so we got the community questions that we saved towards the end. Lemon Square asks favorite games that are exclusive to PS2. Basically, like, for me, like at the time, Devil May Cry 3 was exclusive to PS2, but aside from that, uh probably that's a tough one for me because I didn't get to play a lot of the first party Sony games on the platform, but I'm gonna work on that. So yeah, I can't exactly answer that question, but if anyone else can, Epic.
I mean, I kind of already said my favorites for exclusives, but if I would have to say one of them, probably would have to be either Katamari or Jack and Daxter, because both of them I would say they really made me feel good to play whenever I go back there and just go ahead and have a good time. Because really, these are games that really define my moments with games that just makes you want to play them all over again because they're just this good to have fun with and to see how people would react too when they play it too. So yeah, it'd probably be either Jack and Daxter or Katamari.
Mm-hmm. Redbeard.
I would. Uh, I'll have to say the Xenosaga series
Yeah.
because I can't say anything about Final Fantasy because they're already not exclusive anymore.
Yeah.
It has no light of day for the Xenosaga to get remastered or remake, whatever. Um,
All right.
yeah, that was just one of the games that got me onto a roller coaster. I was on this a few games as well. Like there's mostly I like playing some like anime games as well. They have like some Full Metal Alchemist video games. I remember.
Yeah.
Uh, oh my gosh, so much memories.
Nope.
That was my favorite one. That was two of my favorite. Mm, I think I'll say it for me on that part.
Okay. Ange, favorite exclusive on PS2?
I know. I know I keep saying 10, but 10 is that comfort game. It's like that first one, but just I'm also glad to hear someone else talking about like Xenosaga. Like that's like that was I felt like I was very alone with that game. So it's really nice. Through Twitch I've been meeting other people being into Xenosaga now.
And
That was really
I
good.
stream all those streams on Twitch as well.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I seriously I think I don't know. I feel like Kingdom Hearts really did something. Like the first Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of games today kind of picked up from that game too, from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So at the moment right now, as we're going along, the first Kingdom Hearts kind of a lot of memorable moments. Especially I'm just gonna say Sephiroth.
Mhm.
Uh,
it.
Get off.
I remember first time playing as a kid, and I remember first time playing as a kid. I was like, "All right, let's go." And then I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh, he beat us up.
Yep.
Mhm.
But that's it, yeah.
All right, Ben. What is your favorite exclusive?
Well, I would kind of say this much the same thing. I would either say the Katamari games, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Final Fantasy X-2, Metal Gear Solid 3.
Ooh.
But considering the recent releases on like modern consoles, I'm not sure if the phrase PS2 exclusive is pretty accurate for those titles anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I would have to say if there were games that were on the PS2 that still just remain on the PS2 that to my understanding have never been re-released or you know, out on any modern stuff, it would have to be the Dynasty Warriors series.
Yes.
Like I said, specifically Dynasty Warriors 4, 5, and the Empires games of both games. And the original Dot Hack trilogy, the 4 games on that PS2 that have, to my understanding, never been remade or re-released on any other console to this point.
Yep.
Oh, really quick. There was a dot hack like kind of remaster only released in Japan, but not great. I think we talked about this on stream. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much my thing on that.
I've thought of one just now. This is never gonna unless Capcom decides to just randomly port this to any other platform. The very last game from Clover Studios, God Hand. And
Oh.
I've never played that
Ooh.
game.
Interesting.
Ooh.
it was it infamously had a 3.0 rating from IGN. But I played the game last year, I streamed it, I beaten it. I'm gonna say this right now, it's not even close to 3.0. Not even. That game is amazing. So that's my answer. God Hand is my favorite PS2 exclusive, and it's a true exclusive because it's never been ported anywhere, and I don't know if it will even be ported anywhere anytime soon. So, next up is Nintendo. Steve, but they go.
Shell, wait.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm just to say this as well. With the honorable mention,
Yep.
there is one PlayStation exclusive I remember watching friends play. I never played it, but I watched my friends play. The Bouncer.
That's a
I've
game
heard
I
of that game. I have heard of that one. That's one I've kind of been wanting to play.
Me
I'm
too.
okay with this one.
Yes.
I'm gonna say this right now. I am going to stream The Bouncer this year. I don't know when, but this year.
Oh man, I'm gonna
Cool.
have to devote some time to watch that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's man. If we my friends even watched it, we always watch go YouTube videos and watch the whole all the special moves, and we were just like, "Oh, these days."
Fun fact, the person who worked on The Bouncer, he used to work for Sega. He was one of the lead. He wasn't the creator of Virtua Fighter, but he was like the lead designer of it. Then he left Sega to go to Namco and worked on the first 2 Tekken games before he left to create his own studio, Dream Factory, where he made the Tobal fighting games on PS1. But he also made Guys, God Bless the Ring for PS1. And the only reason people care about that game is because it has Final Fantasy VII characters.
Yep.
Which is to me, very underrated fighting game. But The Bouncer is a game I want to try out soon. So next one is from Nintendo with with a 1 instead of an I. What is the rarest US PS2 game? Is it Rule of Rose? I looked it up, and the answer is no. Rule of Rose is actually number 2. Number 1 is, and this may be a cop-out answer, but the God of War press kit. It goes for $1,000.
Yeah, I don't think I heard about that one, but that
Me
is
neither.
definitely rare.
That's I've never heard of this.
Yes.
But
Kuon is actually number 2 according to this list that because I posted in the podcast guest room. Number 3 is Rule of Rose. It's $690, but Kuon is $850 if you get it complete in box. And Kuon is a game that was developed by a famous studio that everyone loves, From Software. It was 2004. It was a survival horror, and it wasn't well received by critics, and it did not sell well. But people are seeking out that game because of how rare it is. But for Rule of Rose, this was a late 2006 game. It was banned in Europe because it apparently had like a certain type of portrayal on children because it's a psychological twist and a fairy tale like flavor game. But yeah. So the number 1 answer is God of War, but it's a press kit only for the press, and it goes for $1,000. That's all I could.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So, but that's more of a like a someone just checking to see what the rarest US PS2 game is. But yeah. But we can go to the next question. If you could transfer any other game from any other console to PS2, what would it be and why? Like a game that was not on PS2 but should have been. Well, there's a couple of answers to that. Like Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes would be one of those games because that was a GameCube only game. Another one would be Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2 because that was not on PS2, but it was on Dreamcast, GameCube, and Xbox, but never on PS2. If it would have been on PS2 and took advantage of the broadband adapter for PS2 for online play, it would have been a lot more successful on there than it would have been on any other platform.
Yeah.
And the only other game I could probably come up with that was exclusive somewhere else and not on PS2, I would more likely say, like, in terms of exclusives, I would probably say, like, the 2 Resident Evil games that didn't make it to PS2, because Resident Evil 4 made it, but not Remake or Resident Evil 0. So, those 2. Those are my answers.
Okay.
Epic?
That's fine. That's kind of hard to say because I don't know what would feel like it would fit for the PS2. However, then again, I don't remember if this wasn't. Has Sonic Adventure 1 ever come to the PS2 before?
No, not 1 and 2 did not.
No.
Right, yeah.
Okay, then yeah, you know what? Why not? Bring 1 and 2 to the PlayStation 2 because I think those would have been fine games to have on a PS2 when they weren't available because I know 2 was only on GameCube and 1 as well, but yet they were only on there. So it would have been nice if they would have bring those 2 to the PS2 because I mean we have several Sonic games onto the PS2. So, like Sonic Heroes and Sonic Riders, but it would have been nicer to see the adventure games coming in a PS2 because then people would have loved to play those games all over again when the Dreamcast wasn't doing too hot at the time. So that would have been a nice option to have. But for anything else, it's like it's not just it's just hard to say which one that would be beneficial or even fitting for the PlayStation brand
Yeah.
because I don't know what else because you can think of any games you can say, but like imagine if you would think that like for games like imagine if you want to put an Xbox game to a PlayStation game just to see how people would react.
Yeah.
And maybe you would get a different reaction. Like imagine having Halo on a PlayStation console. Like that is something that would have been an interesting thing to see, but you know, it wouldn't be
Yeah,
be weird.
it's
Yeah.
it's
I don't know if I would say.
like nothing would be as weird as people asking for Nintendo games on PlayStation consoles.
Oh yeah, because people would just make big weird decisions of finding that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, think about like Halo. Like, whoa, Halo on the PlayStation? Nah, that's gonna set some alarms on people's
Like-
on people's computers. Just say, whoa, Halo? What?
like
Huh?
like good like good luck. It's like good luck getting Nintendo anything on anything that's not on their own platform.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like Nintendo ain't gonna give up their babies onto other platforms. Not a
No.
chance.
Mm.
As far as we can imagine. Yeah, no, they're not giving that up. But yeah, like yeah, probably would just say mostly just Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. Bring those over to PS2 at the time. Yeah.
Okay. Redbeard?
I don't know for sure. I'm trying to think, but not really, because I'm thinking a lot of RPGs, but a lot of RPGs have been released in the West, have been released on PS2, but not on West Coast.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's been released. That has been released. uh, like all the everyone at the international editions of Final Fantasy 10, 10 to 12. And we're just like stuck here with the shitty original, but sometimes the original is good.
Yep.
But I can't think of anything
All right.
at all.
That's fair. Ange?
Seriously, I saw this question earlier this week and I was just like, I agree. There should have been like Dreamcast games. I know a lot of Dreamcast games went to the Xbox, and
Yeah.
that's what happened with me. But wouldn't it be great to hear Shenmue 2 on PS2? I don't know. That feels
It would have done
That
so.
feels right.
That would have
Not a
been
bad
great. Yeah.
idea.
Yes.
Really not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
It would have done so much better on PS2 than on Xbox.
yeah, because
Agreed. Agreed.
the first Shenmue was actually I think they tested it on the PS1, but it just wasn't. There's like a PS1 copy of not copy, but like practice of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working out, so they just went with Sega, or they went and did that. Either it was PS1 or if it was what was it before Sega Dreamcast, guys?
Oh, it might have been Sega Saturn, actually.
It might have been Saturn. I think I'm wrong about that. So, but anyways, either way, just like Dreamcast games in general, I feel like I wish they were also on the PS2.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of Xbox.
Oh, yeah. Like Panzer Dragoon Orta, Crazy
Yeah.
Taxi 3, Toe Jam and Earl 3 Mission to Earth. Another one I would probably say. Well, before I continue, Ben, what about you? What would you say is exclusive somewhere else or not on PS2 that should have been on PS2?
Knights of the Old Republic, off the top of my head.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
okay.
that would have been interesting. I just thought of a
So-
couple as well.
I also have a couple ones. This was actually, I mean, honestly, this was because PS2 is more because it was PS2, GameCube, Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, I'm just gonna stick with Knights of the Republic and leave it at that.
Because I thought about Power Stone 1 and 2. Like they could have done a double pack of Power Stone 1 and 2 for PS2. I would have also have brought over let's see. So we got Soul Calibur 2, we got Soul Calibur 3, Soul Calibur 1. I would have brought over that Spawn game. There was a Spawn game for the Dreamcast. Apparently it was planned for PS2, but it got canceled.
Really?
Because I think
It's Soul Calibur 2 for PlayStation 2 is such a bullshit thing.
yeah, because what
So the only reason I say that, and I don't mean to cut you off again, the only reason I say that is because, so for those who don't know, anyone who's listening in on the podcast later, there are 3 versions of Soul Calibur 2, one for GameCube, one for Xbox, and one for PlayStation 2. Each version had their own unique guest character. GameCube version had Link, Xbox version had Spawn, but the PlayStation 2 version had Heihachi Mishima from
Yes.
Tekken.
Yes.
The reason I say it was bullshit is because the PS2, on all 3 of these versions, there was something called a weapon master mode, where one of the weapon or one of the mission choices was an invisible character. The only way you could find your character, the opposing character, was with the weapon. Hey, Hachi doesn't use a weapon!
That's true.
That's true, but
Yep.
that sounds weird when you say like that because everyone else has weapons and he doesn't, and I'm like, okay, wait, what?
Well, here's the thing I want to bring up. Originally, Heihachi was not the plan. Originally, the plan was that Spawn was going to be in all 3 versions, but then, like, when they were making the GameCube version, Nintendo wanted Link. So they decided to make Spawn exclusive to Xbox. And the original plan was that they were going to get Cloud Strife for PS2, but at the last minute, Square had cold feet and said no. So that's how we ended up getting Heihachi Mishima instead. So we were robbed of Cloud in Soul Calibur 2. Like,
Yep.
Oh, man. That was such a bullshit. Yeah, I wish we would have gotten Cloud. That would have been amazing.
because, like,
Yeah.
I honestly felt that if we would have gotten Cloud, it would have at least, at minimum, rivaled the GameCube version. Because we got Link.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, next question is from Sone. From Sone. What PS2 game doesn't have to be exclusive, just that it was on the console, do you think deserves a remake? And I'll also say remaster as well. There's a lot of games that are on that platform that definitely deserve a remake, so picking one isn't going to be enough. But for the sake of this question, if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with God Hand. I want more people to play that game. Epic?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of. Well, no, I can't. It's just that I don't know if I can say one because there's just so much that I want to say deserves a remaster, a remake. Like, for instance, give Jack and Daxter a remake because, man, people should get into the series more often. And I know Naughty Dog ain't gonna do another Jack and Daxter or any of the old their old games like they used to because they're just now more for realistic people and such, like with Nathan Drake and Joel with The Last of Us. Just I get it. They want to move on. They want to do something better. I get that. But man, Jack and Daxter were such a good duo that I feel like people are not getting enough of, and
Yeah.
they deserve to get another chance. I feel like because they do such good things with this series, and I feel like people are missing out. And also, I would say, um, I would say that this one has been talked to death before, and people uh, feel like this should be also. I guess I would say maybe remaster. I'm not sure about remake, but remaster would have been fun enough. But either
Yeah.
way, people should play more of even though this is a little controversial, but at the time, but still, Bully, the game from Rockstar.
Oh,
As
yeah.
Yeah.
that's been talked a lot for people wanting another entry of the series for a long time, and we still have yet to get another one after so many years. Like we already have iterations on other systems, collector's edition, expansions, and such. Even on the freaking Wii, I believe, which is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So they need to give this series a chance. And I know it's I know it's GTA, all that, and a little bit Red Dead, but I feel like Red Dead got the short end of the stick, in my opinion, with the second game. Even though the second game was good from what I've heard, but the online I heard I heard not so good things
Well,
about it. But even then,
PS2 had Red Dead Revolver, which
that's
fun fact about that game. Red Dead Revolver was originally going to be it was actually a Capcom game originally, and it was supposed to be a reboot of an arcade game called Gunsmoke, but
Oh,
Capcom
that
did
makes
not
sense.
Capcom did not like what they saw, and then they sold the game to Rockstar, and it became Red Dead Revolver.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then suddenly they just decide to say, "Hey, we're gonna make a new game that is taking from Red Dead Revolver, but we're not gonna make it canon." Because they decided to say, let's just start over, reboot the whole thing, and call it Red Dead Redemption." And that went off, which was pretty good.
Yeah,
But I would still say Bully should get another chance, honestly, because really, even then, I know that the game is set on with with the name, but yet it's still a good game overall because it really just feels quite different, unique because it is a school setting and it is open world, and you do a bunch of side stuff that kids would do. So I think this would be a very nice thing to see for a remaster or remake at least, you know. So yeah, either Bully or Jack and Daxter for me.
all right. Redbeard, what would you say deserves a remake? Like a PS2 game that deserves a remake?
I'm gonna have to go with 1 to 3 games because this whole trilogy needs to be remade or remastered. The Xenosaga series
Yes.
needs to
Yeah.
be remade or remastered. Really bad.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it.
All right.
Like remaster and like add the the all the blood filter they removed from the original game because I was so confused until I found a ROM to where they has the Japanese game with uh English voice. I was like, sweet. And I saw the whole thing. I was like, kind of makes sense now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's other ones well I want to remake as well because they need a remake so bad.
Yeah.
I'll say a few honorable mentions. Tells the Virginia, tells the Abyss, and 3DS do not count.
Mm.
Games I would play. Hey, I forgot. Just thought of it. Now I forgot.
Well, when
So,
you remember, just feel free to say it.
yeah, I will.
All right.
But that's for me.
All right. Inch.
Well, Capcom's been kind of killing. Well, I'm hoping Onimusha's good. But I feel like Capcom's been really killing it with like bringing back their old IPs
Yeah.
and bringing them back. I'm very happy about that. Obviously, I agree. Xenosaga, Dot Hack, like original Dot Hack games. G's okay, but that's my opinion. Yeah, I feel those definitely. Just everyone breeding it, and then Jack and Daxter, I actually agree because I never got to play them, and I'm sitting here waiting. I want a chance to play it, but I have to find different ways to play it now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
definitely
only thing they
I'm agreeing with everyone here.
They only brought those back only for the PS4, but I heard not so good things about the PS4 port.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So, but the PS3
Me
version
too.
though is pretty good.
I mean,
Okay.
if there's no official way, remember you can always sail the seven seas.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
boy. The
Think
infamous
about that.
words.
But also just horror wise, since Silent Hill 2 remake I felt like was pretty good, maybe 3,
Yeah.
maybe.
I feel like that's the
Three
next
good.
logical step.
Yeah.
Three would be good. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but that's all I could think of.
All right. Ben?
So I got two. The first, hands down, no question, Rogue Galaxy.
Yeah.
I know that the original is available on PS4. I do have that. I've been meaning to stream that. Because it's just one of those games I've been wanting to do for some time. But a remaster, remake would actually be amazing, I think, on that.
All right.
The next one would probably be kind of something no one would really expect. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses.
Ooh.
Actually,
Nice.
Nice.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's something I would like to see remade.
Yeah, I would not mind seeing that. So, anything else?
Uh, hmm. Honestly, I wouldn't really remind a remastered version. Kind of like how, like with the the original Spyro trilogy got remade for PS4 through with Toys for Bob.
Yeah.
Toys for Bob. I wouldn't mind a remastered version of the Legend of Spyro reboot.
All right.
Come to think of it.
I do have one more before we go to the next question.
But that's all I've got.
Yeah, the last one I'll go with is Mega Man X Command Mission, which is an RPG.
Yes, I completely forgot about that one. I will fully agree with that on that one.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Dragon. How many people do you think bought the PS2 just to have it as a DVD player? Pretty much most of the I'd say most of the people who own a PS2.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. The real Destiny Decade asks, my question is this. Do you think that the PS2 should have had more 2D games? Yes, there should be more 2D games. Like, it's
There should be just more 2D games in general, not just for the PS2, but just overall.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
some 2D games that are on the PS2, but they're not. They're still stuck on the East Coast.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Because the problem is that Sony of America, at the very least, I don't know about Europe, but for America, they've always had an anti 2D bias since the PS1.
Oh.
Because the main reason that they had an anti 2D bias is because of their hatred their hatred towards Nintendo. All because of that deal that fell through. And the thing is that with the PS2, like, they wanted to try to move away from 2D and make 3D like the big thing, but there were companies still releasing 2D games, and it's one of those things where, like, if you want us to make 2D games, 3D games, you gotta let us make the 2D games. Like, Capcom pretty much had Sony by the neck because for PS1 in general, at the very least, Capcom had Mega Man 8 and Mega Man X4 on the docket, but Sony did not want that because they were 2D games, and because Capcom was riding high from the success of Resident Evil, and then Capcom was like, "All right, well, if you don't let us release these games over here in the United States, we're not going to release Resident Evil 2 in the United States." And then Sony was like, okay, I get it. You can release them. Because they really want Resident Evil 2. But they've always been anti 2D. Still kind of are to this day, still are. But what's funny is that they go out of their way to make it so that they, like, yeah, we have 2D games, but don't you want to just take a look at this shiny new 3D game? That's pretty much what they do. That's basically Sony's MO since PS1, and they have not changed whatsoever. Whereas, like, 2D games, like, even indie games, like, do better everywhere else. Although now, like, they're doing better on PlayStation because, like, if PlayStation's their only platform, and they do well there too. But yeah, yeah, like, that's the thing. Sony was anti 2D, still are, but it's been better these years, but not as much. Next question. We got 2 questions left before we wrap it up. This one's from Professor Icepick. Why do you think PS2 homebrew development hasn't really taken off, especially considering that the Genesis, Dreamcast, and Neo Geo already have thriving scenes? I honestly don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
I really don't know.
I couldn't answer that question either.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, even then, I don't know if there's even a way to, like, I mean, you can even try to, like, have the PS2 to be able to have region free at least, so that way you can have any any games from other regions to be able to be playable on that system. But I just don't think anybody even got the chance to look into the PS2 with homebrew or anything, because I guess people just didn't have that much interest, it seems, because
Yeah.
really you never hear about them for the PS2 at all. So really it is just the games the systems goes after that, maybe because it's not so hard, or it is compatible, or maybe it's just really interest at all. So
Yeah, it's just
it could be either of those. So
and if they do exist, it's pretty obscure compared to like other platforms. Like I think even PS3 might have a bigger homebrew scene than PS2 does, which is
yeah,
shocking to me.
I mean, considering because it's the next best thing and a better system overall to have for homebrews. Um, but I mean, I don't know if it's like, because I know that there was a time with the PS1 had a thing where people try to make their own indie games type of way. Back in the day, it was like some sort of contest where they had to have a dev kit PS1 system in order to make PS1 games with it. And they decide to make it a contest so people can get their chance on making their own games. And it happened, yes, but
Uh,
it wasn't as big as it wanted it to be. But yet people still made the games with it, so it was a thing. But PS2, they didn't do anything with it, so
yeah,
really, I guess they just didn't really needed it. I guess because there was just so many games you would play with it. But
yeah,
again, could be interest in the lack of of compatibility probably be the case.
yeah. But I otherwise don't really have an answer, so we'll go with the last question. This one's from DM21. Which PS2 game was your first when you booted up the system? It was a demo disc. That was it for me.
Oh.
It was Gran Turismo 3. That was pretty much the first time we ever played with my dad.
The demo disc that I had Dynasty Warriors 2. It had the first SSX, not Tricky, but the first SSX, and Armor Core.
Armor Core.
Yeah, Redbeard.
I would have to say Final Fantasy 10.
All right, Ange,
10 as well. 10 as well. Was definitely the first.
Ben.
GTA 3.
All right. Well, that's it. That's all the questions. That's all the community questions. So to everybody that sent those community questions, thank you so much for that. And that's gonna do it for the show. So thanks to everybody that tuned in. It was a great episode. We love the PS2. And before we sign off, Epic Man, where can we find you?
Well, you can always usually find me on my twitch.tv/TheEpicMan World, and also my Blue Sky, same handle, The Epic Man World. Yep, you can pretty much find me on those, which I will give updates on when I'm going to stream again, which I'm going to have to take a little hiatus on because I got to fix some things.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you can always find me on Blue Sky because I usually go there, or, that's pretty much it.
All right. And where can we find you, Redbeard?
You can find me at Twitch twitch.tv/Mr. Ripbeard. And you can also find me on Blue Sky as well. Sorry, same username, Mr. Ripbeard. This is currently still on hiatus, so probably like mid or late this year or next year I'll be back on stream.
All right. Ange, where can we find you?
You guys can find me at twitch.tv/TNAngelic. I also have Blue Sky. That also says when I'll be live. I just got Blue Sky, so I forgot to do it the last couple of streams, but this last stream I got to do it. So but you can find me there.
All right. And Ben, where can we find you?
Twitch.tv/Mr. Ben. That's MISTAHBEN.
Yep.
I do have a Blue Sky. I never use it though.
Yeah.
But
and you could pretty much find me lately these days mostly on Blue Sky, Discord, because I do not use Twitter anymore and I will not go back. But yeah, you can pretty much find me there where I stream, especially on here and on here where I stream like daily Monday through Thursdays with occasional Friday and Sunday streams from 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern up until midnight Eastern Standard Time. The next episode of Sharing with Shellshock will be happening next Sunday, and that is going to be retro games on modern hardware. And joining that one will be John J. Torres, Mansell Ferox, Jeremy the Nostalgia Alchemist, and Corshal Valent. That'll be next week, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to have that episode. And with that, that's going to do it. So thanks to everybody that came through. Epic, Redbeard, Ange, Ben, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Hey, thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. PS2, fantastic console. Glad we talked about it. As always, make sure to take care of yourselves. Be awesome. Stay awesome. Tell your loved ones you love them. Check up on them. As always, fight for lasting peace. And I'll see you guys next time, like tomorrow for my next stream. And next week will be the next episode of Sharing with Shellshock. And y'all have a wonderful night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Remember, don't be a dick.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for watching Sharing with Shellshock Season 4. Your name will be inscribed in the pages of podcast history.